So everything comes packaged all together here. Everything you need. There's a little hardware package here. It's got the micro switch and all the nuts and bolts and bits and pieces we're going to need. There's our instruction sheet. If you open it up, everything's laid out in here on how to build it. It's really quite straightforward if you just follow these simple steps. I'm sure you'll have no problem getting it put together. Everything comes together on a fret like this, all joined together. The pieces simply just snap off like that. So they just break these off here into all the individual parts. Set them aside. Okay. Now the first step is we start, we glue together our main structure, our main support here. And that requires these two uprights and this back support. If you're like me, these little bits and these little burrs on here will drive you crazy, so I like to actually just quick sand them off. There's no mechanical reason to do this. It's just purely so it looks nice when it's finished. We've laid it out so all the tabs are in locations where they won't interfere with the operation of the machine. But still, I like to knock these things off just so it's nice and smooth and easy to work with. On the machines, there's arrows marked on some of the parts. The arrows point to the direction of where the support is for the connecting rod. So the rag connecting rod slides in here and hooks up onto the end of the machine, and these can be built left or right hand, so you can have this little piece hanging off to this side or hanging off to this side. The only reason we have that is if there's some obstruction in the way and you need to put it over to this side, or the way you have your machine located, it's easier to get the rod out to the control panel from one side than it is from the other. So when I build them, if I'm building a bunch of machines, I'll make a bunch of left and a bunch of right hands, and I just grab the one that does the job the best as I'm installing them. So what these arrows do is they point to the side that this little structure is going to be on. So if you want it on the right side, you make sure all your arrows are pointing to the right. If you want it on the left, you make sure all your arrows are pointing to the left. So I'm going to build one just like this. And this one's hanging off on the right side. So let's do that. So we make sure that these parts are glued together with the arrow pointing to the right. They're designed to almost be foolproof, but you can still get them wrong if you try hard enough. But these first two pieces just simply get glued one on top of the other like that. And a little bit of carpenter's glue is all you need. I'm using just some yellow glue here. I'm dispensing it out of this little bottle that we've stuck one of our Plyo-Bond tips in, one of these little tips here. It's kind of nice because it gives you a really small bead of glue. It gives you lots of control on how you're going to apply it. And we just put the pieces together like this, so the arrows are on top of each other like that. And if you look on the back, these holes kind of line up. These are hex shaped because there's a nut that goes in there that we use to screw everything together with. So what I'm checking just to make sure that the edges are all nicely in line with each other like this, and that the top is flush on the top like that there. So you just squeeze it like that, and that glue cures almost instantly. Now we can press in our nuts that go in the back. So we'll just open up this little package of hardware here. We just spill everything out here. You can see these are all the bits and pieces we need for building our switch machine. There's the spring, the ball bearing, our micro switch. We can set most of this aside for now. All I'm really interested in are the two nuts that go on the back here, these two pieces. These just press into these little hex-shaped cutouts like this. Sometimes it's easier to actually grab the little bolt and just kind of stick it in there and helps get it lined up. There we go. So one goes there, and one goes in the other hole below it here like this. There. They just press in nice and snug like that. And then this piece, this little rib support, goes on the back, and it'll press in here like that. And there's clearance there for the two nuts in the spring. So let's just put a little bit of glue on there. There's not a lot of gluing surface on this part here, so I just put a little bit on the side, a little dab on the top here, a little dab here that's going to go onto the nut, and maybe some up in there. And we just press that in here like that. There. So that's our back support, nicely glued together. Wipe a little bit of this glue off here. Okay, now that that's done, we look on our instructions. The next step is to glue this structure onto the upper support base, and we'll put the two mounting plates on the top, and that's pretty straightforward. We've designed this so it can only go together one way, so it's really hard to get it wrong. Again, I'm just knocking these little burrs off here like that. Okay, apply a little bit of glue on all the top surfaces here, some on the back, and I like to get a little bit even on the backs there, like that. Now there's two parts. There's the lower and the upper. The lower is the narrow piece. That goes on first. It just presses on like that. Everything's got a nice snug slide fit. So that's pressed on there. Just wipe a little bit of that glue off, and then the upper piece gets glued onto that. So you put a little bit of glue here, all the way around, maybe a little bit there, and then stick the top piece on. There. Now that gives us a nice solid surface in here. It's structurally sound, because this is where the screws go in to screw it to the layout, so you want this to be solid. You notice we've got slots in here as well, so when you screw it in place you can actually adjust it, which is quite handy. Okay, so the upper one's done. Now we want our mounting plate for the bottom. Knock this little bit of burrs off here. Again, minding which direction the arrows are. We want to make sure that the arrows all are pointing to the right, because we're building a right hand. We'll put a little bit of glue down here. You can see where this little nozzle is quite handy for gluing. You could probably fit this in just about any jar. This is actually an old honey jar, but it serves does a good job as a glue jar as well. So now we'll glue this onto here. Make sure it's pointing to the right. Again, it'll only go one way. I mean, it'll point left or right, but you can't get it backwards. Now I'm making sure that when I put this on, it's firmly seated against the back here. That's critical later when we install the micro switch. If this is sticking out too far, it makes it hard to adjust the micro switch so it'll function properly. So make sure you put a little bit of pressure on there, and it's nice and snug in the back. Okay, so that's glued in place, and we can set that piece aside. The next step is to build the lower half of the support structure, which are these pieces here. There's 4 pieces for that. Again, I'll knock these little burrs off here. Only takes a second, and it makes the job a lot nicer.